Eric, we're almost there. December 21st, we will announce the candidate. Is that correct?
It's entirely up to you, Madam Mayor.
Mm-hmm.
We have a slot built on an agenda for you guys already. So,
right. I think I prefer waiting if it's all right with everyone else on council.
I think we should discuss that after the interviews. I see that that's part of the agenda was for deliberation. So that doesn't mean we have to vote, but
right.
Yeah, but we can discuss it then. And if we're ready to vote then, great. And if not, we can come back.
Right.
I think you're probably right. We probably are going to want to take some time, but we don't have to lock ourselves down right now.
Right.
I just want to let everybody know we are running live now and ready whenever you are.
Okay. Are we ready to call the meeting to order, everyone? Yes. I would like to call this special city council meeting to order. City Clerk Ed Norris, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mayor McClellan.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Burns.
here.
Councilmember Radner.
Here.
And Councilmember Edgar.
Here.
Good. We are here to conduct special business, which is to conduct interviews for the vacant council seat. I met earlier with mayors and city council members around the state with Governor Whitmer, and she asked everyone to think of one word for 2020, and grit was suggested. Firm of mind and spirit, unyielding perseverance in the face of danger, discomfort. And I thought, that's been this year. So welcome to Oak Park City Council, and our city manager, Eric Tungate, will conduct the interviews in alphabetical order.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. Before I get started in our interviews, I would like to take this opportunity to just talk about a couple of things. And the first thing is that I wanted to remind everyone on the call that this is a charter, City of Oak Park charter mandated process. And the process was initiated when Council Member Regina Weiss was elected to the State House of Representatives and therefore left her seat vacant. The term that would be filled as a result of the appointment for this seat would go out through November 8th of 2021. And that's the first Monday after the next general election. There are three basic criteria per the city charter of the City of Oak Park. And those criteria are that the person has to be at least a one-year resident, have to have lived in the city for at least 1 year. They cannot be in arrears to the city, and they have to be at least 18 years of age. Out of a initial group of 23 applicants, the city council has weaned that list down to 6 people they have decided to interview here tonight. We also have several members of my staff, our city clerk, Ed Norris, our human resources director, Megan Burke, our city attorney, Ebony Duff, and others who are here to assist us if for any reason we have questions that need to be answered. I am going to ask a series of questions of these candidates, and council members, if you have every right to ask follow-ups or clarifications of these candidates as we go through them. There is no rule or uniform requirement that we ask them the same questions or same follow-up or anything like that. It is completely within your discretion, as is the appointment itself. So after we're done tonight, council members, if you choose to make this appointment, you have every right to do that. If you choose to wait until the next regular council meeting, you have every right to do that as well. Yeah. It has always been our hope that we could fill this seat and have a swearing-in ceremony right at the beginning of January. That being said, unless there are questions, council members, I'm going to go ahead and call our first candidate up, and our first candidate is Stephanie Crawford.
It looks like she's on mute.
Uh-oh, okay. Do we, Lisa, do we have her?
Mhm.
Working on it right now.
Okay.
It appears as though she's unmuted now.
There she is.
There she is. Hi, Stephanie. Good
Hi,
evening.
how are you?
Very good.
Stephanie. Good. Hi.
Okay, Stephanie, I'm gonna jump right in and I'm gonna try to keep my questions and the answers to around 20 minutes is my goal. That is not a hard and fast rule, but I'm gonna try to keep it to that. So I'm gonna jump right in with my first question here. And I think you know all the members of our city council already. I'm City Manager Eric Tungate. I'm sure you know that already too.
Yeah.
The first question I want to start with is if you could discuss your interest in serving on the city council and how your prior experience will help you be successful serving the city of Oak Park.
Well, I think that my experience as a commissioner on the Arts and Cultural Diversity Commission was and is great experience as far as knowing the interworkings of the city, being involved in all of its events, getting to know all of the different officials and developing friendships with a lot of the members on the commission, as well as the officials and Mayor McClellan. It gave me a great, as far as Oak Park goes, it gave me great knowledge as to how our city conducts events, what's important to our city, which aligns with my personal interest. I know when I was looking for a home about 5 years ago, I researched all the different cities, and I took it very seriously because I knew it was going to be my last home. And Oak Park aligned with everything that I was looking for, which is a big city, but it was small enough to have that friendly atmosphere. And what their values are is just as far as community and family and children and diversity. That's why that commission was so interesting to me. And it was something that I really dived into. I'm co-chair there, and I love that we celebrate the different diversity and ethnicities. And we're constantly looking for ways to reinvent and do it better. And how can we include even more, and what we did before, how we can improve on it. I have a long history of community service. It's very important to me and my family. I involve my children. They're involved in the parade every year, and they're involved in all the events that we attend. And so I think that my background, as far as my work with my sorority, I am the chairman on 2 different projects currently, and we're all about community service. I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and we're always looking and we're always working in the community. And I think that background, as well as my background with my church, our work in the community and the work with Oak Park, I think that I have that all the tools needed to be a successful city council member. My family and I, it's not just this, the position being in city council is not just a stepping stone, or it's not just, I didn't apply because it was sent out in an email. My full intention was to actually run for office in 2021. But I think that this will be a great kind of jumpstart to that. And the reason being is I just really believe in our city, and my family and I, we patronize everything Oak Park, from where we shop to where we dine, the small businesses, all of the different events, the barbershop we go to. You know, I always believe that we need to always patronize the small businesses, but we need to keep and put our dollars and our social, our social events, everything that we do into our community to strengthen it. So I think that I just have the right mindset as far as what's important to me and what my value is for me and my family, to be, along with my work experience and my experience in fundraising and my background as far as leading different projects. I think I'd be a good fit.
So Stephanie, you were kind of alluding to this in your comments just now. Thank you for that, by the way. So how would you define being a great elected official?
I think being a great elected official, you're basically representing the residents. That's what you're doing. You have to be a great listener. You're listening to what their concerns are. You're listening to what we're doing right, but you also have to listen to what we're doing wrong and where we may be missing the mark and where we can improve. You have to be open. You have to be open to everyone. You have to be nonpartisan, I think. You have to be very engaging in your community. And the way to do that is to know your community. That's to know the residents. You have to be involved. I'm involved in 3 Oak Park Facebook groups, and I always have been, not because I think it just gives me a good feeling about what's going on and to be able to know my community. So I think you have to be able to represent everyone, and you have to be open to that. But to do that, you have to know your community, and you have to be fully engaged in it. From, like I said, we shop, we dine, our social events are here. I have 2 kids, they're in the school system here. They attend Key Elementary. So everything we do, we always try to engage. When they wanted to be on football, there's all these great little leagues, but I did find that Oak Park has the Oak Park Saints. They had a football team, and so that's the one that we chose because it was a part of our community. So I think all of those things are important in being an elected official. You have to represent that city. You have to know that city, and that means knowing its residents, its businesses, and the things that we are getting right, the things we can work on, and just being fully vested.
So thank you. And let me just go right into the next question.
Sure.
And I have to say before I ask this question, we have one of the most best group of people in terms of getting along with each other I've ever encountered in government in my career. But there are those times when you are just going to have disagreements. So how do you plan to work through situations where, you might disagree with the other members of city council?
You have to be open. You have to be able to hear. You have to be able to listen. You really have to be a person who's able to to put themselves in the other person's shoes. You have to see it from their point of view. You have to be able to embrace diversity, because you have to realize that we all come from different backgrounds. That's what makes our city beautiful, is that it's so diverse, and I have a story. I know it doesn't have a lot to do with it, but we recently this summer, Commissioner Regina Weiss was telling me about not a protest, but an organized protest that we had during the Black Lives Matter. And so I took my children there. I had a lot of people who were saying to me, well, aren't you afraid of that, with the things on the news? But I had full faith in Oak Park. And we stood right there with Steve Cooper. And it was just one of the best, almost spiritual, different protests that I've been around, because it was everyone. And there was no problems or scuffles or anything like that. It was so reflective of our city. And I think that being able to recognize that, to be able to see everyone's different point of view is a unique feature of our city. I embrace that. I'm empathetic enough that I would be able to embrace that. I'm a listener, and I don't think I know it wouldn't be a problem for me, but that would be one of the tools that you would need to be an effective city council member, just to see all sides of it and to be able to see everyone's viewpoint and make a decision from there.
So let me go to the next one here.
Sure.
Given the nature of the position, as I'm sure you already know, there will be times when residents come to you when they are upset and angry. How would you handle and diffuse that kind of a situation?
Well, first of all, you can't take it personal. You have to know it's your job. That's what you're elected for, or in this case, appointed, to listen to their problems, and to know that I'm a claims specialist. I supervise a team of 8. I tell them all the time, you have to put yourself in their shoes. When someone comes to you and they've had an accident and they're sick and they're in the hospital, and you might have heard it 100 times, but it hasn't happened to them 100 times. It's just that one time. And a lot of times, I think when residents come, you can't be to the point where you've heard it so many times, it's second nature and you're tuning off. You have to realize that this is very important to them. You have to treat it that way. You have to make them feel. And that's what people that's what they want to hear. They want to hear that this is important to you, that you realize the importance. And you may not always get what you want. You may not always get the results that you wanted or what you're asking for, but people want to know that they're being heard. People want to know that you care. People want to know, well, I'm not able to do this, but let's talk about what I can do. And let's talk about some other solutions. And I think for most people, that's enough, or that's a great start. Just to know that you are taking it serious, no matter how small it is.
Absolutely. Okay, let me ask the next question here. What do you perceive as the 3 most important concerns currently facing the city of Oak Park?
Well, right now, at this time, I would say keeping ourselves safe, making sure that we're masking up, we're using sanitizer, one of the hand sanitizer, that we're respecting everyone to make sure that you're wearing your mask in public. Our commission did, and I was a part of it, and we did, it was very important to us to do a PSA on masking up. So that would be something very important. Number 2, I think we have to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our residents who may be struggling during this epidemic. I do see on Wednesdays, we have so many people lined up for our food assistance. I think that that is a concern. We have to make sure that our residents are okay. And we have to do whatever we need to do to assist them, especially our kids. And number 3, I think the most important thing that we have to make sure is that financially we stay strong as a city, that we make the right decisions to stay strong financially, because that's how we help our residents. That's how we stay strong, and that's how we grow in the future.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you one more, and then I'm going to open it up for council members' follow-up. What areas, obviously Oak Park, we're engaged in a monumental economic development revitalization program. So what areas of Oak Park do you think present an opportunity for redevelopment and revitalization?
I like what we're doing with housing. I like that I think we have some beautiful low housing coming up, and I think that's important. I'm sorry, low income housing that we're developing. I think that's so important. I really like the way that we are supporting small businesses. And I do think that that's very important. I love our new biking trails that we set. There's always areas that we can improve. I do think that we maybe need to take a look at supporting the small businesses and what we can do to attract more small businesses. As far as that, I think also engaging, just keeping our residents engaged and making sure that we're meeting the needs to them as far as what's important and they need, and as not only financially, but as far as community services. I think we do a great job with our community services, but always room for improvement. We just have to really just make sure that we're hearing our residents and what they need and what they're looking for.
Absolutely. Thank you. Council members, do you have follow-up questions that you would like to ask?
I do have a follow-up question. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
Thanks for applying.
Oh, my pleasure.
First of all,
thank you for fun.
So you mentioned the little video clip that the members of the Arts and Cultural Diversity Committee did. I thought it was great, and it was really a good initiative. What other things on that? What other things are you most proud of as a member of that commission?
Well, when I joined the commission, I noticed that we weren't participating in well, at the time I joined, I think we had previously, but we weren't participating in the Martin Luther King Walk. And I brought it to the commission's attention. I was so proud to see how everyone engaged it. I know Solomon Radner, I see him there every year. He's like always there, and just how everyone is so open to whatever needs to be done. I did suggest that, and these are some things we're working on, that for the month of February, if we could do something where we're highlighting from our residents for Black History Month. Everyone was so supportive with it, from our director, which is Crystal, and she was just like, whatever you need, just let me know. We'll be happy to assist you. I'm proud of our World Dance Day, which highlights the different dances from different ethnicities, and how the community embraces it, and how it's just getting better and better every year. And even this year, we're going to do it virtually. That we didn't decide, well, the pandemic is limiting us. We're finding a way to do it just as grand and just as great as we did in the past. There's so many things that our commission did. I love the DIA Inside Out that we did. That was a wonderful project, and how we teamed up with the Oak Park Bike Club, and they involved themselves in the different events. So there's so much that we did as a commission. We stay busy. we constantly think of ways to engage everyone, and we're constantly trying to bring more events and more diversity, and celebrating all the ethnicities and celebrating all the different arts and cultures to the community. So there's the list is just growing as far as what we're doing, what we've done, what we're proud of, and what we want to do in the future.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council members, other questions?
Nope.
Okay, seeing no other questions from the council. Stephanie, I would be remiss if I didn't offer you an opportunity to ask questions of the city council members or myself.
Well, I just want to just say it was an honor to be selected. I want to thank you all. I think that our council reflects our city, and our city is great. So I think you guys are great. I want to thank you for including me in the process. If I'm selected, I will be honored to serve beside each and every one of you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Very much appreciated.
Thank you, and everyone have a great day.
You too.
Evening.
Yeah.
You as well.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, we are going to move to our next candidate, council members, and that is Christina Price. Lisa, if we could bring her up, please.
Hello.
Hi,
Christy.
good evening.
Hi, nice to see everyone.
Hello.
Okay, good evening. So I think you may have heard me already, but I'm going to say that again. I'm going to be asking you a series of questions at the end, and allow some time for council members to follow up, and then of course allow you an opportunity to ask some questions of us. So let's dive right in. First, I'm going to ask, what do you perceive as the 3 most important concerns currently facing the city of Oak Park?
Absolutely. So thank you for having me here today. You're going in reverse order, and now I got to flip my notes around. So I think one of the biggest things is bringing new opportunities to Oak Park. I think there's a lot of opportunity to build and grow the city while still maintaining the smallish, very interconnected feel that we have, and attract new families and new businesses without leaving longtime residents behind. I think we have a great opportunity, and there's a real niche spot there that we can really foster development. I think, as Ms. Crawford said, meeting the needs of the community right now. I also live right on that corner on Northfield Boulevard and Coolidge, so I see that line every Wednesday. I serve on Oak Park Youth Assistance, so I know families are struggling. And I think we have to continue to evaluate what we can do as a city and by ourselves, and what we can do to work through additional community partnerships and building coalitions to bridge those gaps in services and economic challenges that our communities and our families are facing. And then I think as soon to be mom in April, I'm continuing to offer and improve the services and programs that we offer to young people. Again, I serve on Oak Park Youth Assistance. I have a long background in social work and working with youth and young adults. And I think making sure that our schools are continuing to offer the best education that they can, that we're continuing to offer programs and services that meet the needs of our students, whatever levels they're at, and also set them up for success once they move beyond high school graduation.
Thank you. I'm going to mix these up all over the place, so bear with me here.
Okay.
So how do you, given the nature of the position, there are times when residents come to you and they are upset and angry. How would you handle and diffuse a situation like that with a resident?
Yeah. So as a social worker and as spending the last 2 years on the Zoning Board of Appeals, I feel like I have a lot of experience in this area. I think de-escalation is a really big skill of mine, and it's really important to truthfully listen and hear and validate concerns without making false promises. So you really need to understand where they're coming from and understand that that's their reality, and that's the most difficult thing in their life right now, and explaining it to you is really hard for them. And knowing that you just hear them can be important, but I think also working with them to make changes maybe if they're necessary, but also making sure to not make false promises and say, oh yeah, totally, we want to fix all of these things and it's going to be great. I don't think that serves anyone. I think listening to the community is important, and working with them for progress is the best way to move forward.
Thank you. So let's go to, when you're on a city council, you're part of a 5, especially this one, you're part of a 5-member group. So how do you plan to work through situations where you disagree with your fellow council members?
I think dialogue is key. I think you need to be open and able to engage in ways that don't compromise your core values, but also listen to the sides of others and where they're coming from. We all have different lived experiences. We also all have different life experiences. And it would be my duty to speak on behalf of the community, but also to see the sides of the others. I mean, many of you have been in public service much longer than me, and there's something to be learned from each and every one of you. And I think as long as you have an honest dialogue where you feel free to kind of have that space to have a conversation, and it's not an argument, it's different passionate views about how to accomplish goals and solve problems for the city, I think you can't go wrong.
Okay, thank you. So then what is your definition of being a great elected official?
I think that starts with integrity and listening. I've lived in Oak Park for 4 years in February, and I know I don't have all the answers. I think that you have to engage and you have to listen. You want your community to have pride in their leadership, and that comes from their concerns being validated and their concerns being heard, and programs serving the community, and services that we offer are of the utmost integrity and meeting the needs of everyone in the community. I think you have a duty. You are to be of service to your community if you are an elected official or an appointed official. And I think as an appointed one, that's even more important because they didn't have a say in your placement on that council. And I think it makes it even more important to show how much you actually want to engage and listen and hear their concerns. So you can earn their trust because they didn't vote for you. And just their other representatives voted for you. So I think, yeah, it just really starts with listening and engaging, and you really have to make sure that they trust those who are running the community, and you do that by your actions.
Okay, so I know you have a background in social work. So how does your background support your interest in serving on the city council, and how does that experience help you, do you think, in terms of being successful?
So my interest in being on city council, obviously, is to serve my community first and foremost. 2 of the 6 core values of social work are service and social justice, and those aren't just core values of my profession, they're core values that I live in my daily life. So I grew up in Royal Oak. I served on the PTSA as a youth member. I went to conferences, I spoke out at school board meetings. It's always been something that's very important to me be active in my community and support my community and call things out when they're not going well. All of these things I think are really important. I think my experience now as a grant manager and a program coordinator at Wayne State, I'm used to building coalitions and working with community partners. And I think that's something that we can continue to have more growth in that realm in Oak Park to help continue to meet the needs of our community members and our families. So yeah, I've lived in Oak Park for the last 4 years. We chose this area to come because it's a wonderful, close-knit, diverse community. My husband and I moved here 4 years ago, and we're raising a family here now. We bought our house, and serving the community now that we live in is really important to me.
So what's an Oak Park related issue that you would like to take on if you're selected?
One of the big things that, and I guess this may be my age, but I want to see more development in this community, but I want to see it, as I mentioned earlier, in a way that doesn't alienate long-term residents who see this community as a certain way. But I think there's also a lot of room for growth. I think the 11 Mile corridor is a really untapped and underutilized area where we could bring in new business. I know there's a brewery and a pub coming in, and I think these are things that are really important for bringing in new families and expanding business opportunities in Oak Park. And I think it's also great opportunities to have more places to go out for the people who already live here. So I think it presents a really great opportunity. But it's something I'd want to be careful with, because growing up in Royal Oak and then leaving Royal Oak because of being priced out, it's something that I fear in a lot of places. And I don't want to see that happen in Oak Park. Not that I don't want property values to go up and our services to improve in economic development, but I think there's a way to have progressive growth and making sure that you're not leaving anyone behind, because there are people who've lived in this community for decades. And I don't want progress to happen at the cost of them thinking that they live in a city they don't recognize anymore. And I don't, that's something that's very important to me.
Thank you. Council members, believe it or not, those are, she's finished my questions. So are there follow-up questions?
Sorry, I was too succinct.
I do have a follow-up question. So you're interested in more economic development without leaving anybody behind and without pricing people out of Oak Park, which is what happens, of course. But how would you involve? So how do we enable residents to take part in that growth and to really benefit from that growth? Do you have any feelings, any ideas for how to do that?
So it's obviously not my expertise. Economics are not my area of expertise. I think I got a B- average on those classes in college. So it's definitely an opportunity for a lot of growth and learning on my part, because you can say these things and you can want to do these things, but how you accomplish them is very difficult. I think taking advantage of the opportunities that are provided by the county for small business grants and small business loans, and encouraging local entrepreneurs to apply for those and bring then their entrepreneurial spirit into Oak Park, and kind of maybe have, I don't know, some types of workshops to be able to help them establish those businesses and bring them into Oak Park, and maybe we have incubator. I think there's a lot of opportunity to develop different ideas that probably starts with a council meeting where you have a special meeting and you ask people, if you were to start a new business in Oak Park, what would some barriers be? What would you need to support you in that development? And what are things that the city could provide or that the county could provide that could be useful? And I think that would be a good place to start, is hearing what they actually need. One of my most formative moments in my undergraduate career was I was in a, it's going to sound totally random. Once upon a time, I worked in international development and at the State Department for a brief stint, and I spent 6 months in Uganda, and we went to a pineapple farm, and this gentleman came up to us and he said, well, when are they going to bring the trucks? And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And he says, well, they keep bringing us new irrigation equipment, and they keep bringing us all these technical manuals and all these different resources, and they want to give us grants, but all we need are trucks because the pineapples are rotting because we can't get them to the market. And it's something I talk about in the classes I teach a lot, because unless you're actually listening to what people need, you're just going to keep throwing things at a problem, and that's not actually useful. So if all they needed was a truck, then let's get them a truck. What are the people who want to bring businesses to Oak Park need? Do they need an incubator space? Do they need small business loans? Do they need grants? Do they need different trainings to be able to understand how these different processes work? I think you have to start with asking. Sorry, that was really long.
No, totally okay.
No, very
Other
good.
questions?
Thank you.
Nice.
Any other follow-up questions, council members?
No, not from me.
Okay. Christina, any questions for us?
No questions at this time. It's lovely to see all of you. I see some of you on youth assistance and zoning board and the brownfield. So it's nice to see everybody in one place, and I hope everyone's safe and healthy. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being
Thank
here this
you.
Oh
evening.
my God.
Much appreciated. Have a great rest of your evening. Okay,
Thanks, Christy.
we are going to move on, council members, to our third candidate, and our third candidate is Brenda Richard.
Sorry, my Zoom stopped responding. I apologize. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Evening.
Brenda, thank you for being here. I'm going to just jump right in here and just start with my first question. So can you define what it is to be a great elected official?
Well, there's no easy definition, but from my perspective, everything starts with respect. It honestly does. I think that if you're going to be an elected official, you need to be respectful, polite, and deferential. Be respectful to the people you are working with. Be respectful to the people that you are working for. Be a good listener. One of my personality traits that tends to work against me is that I am a little bit introverted. So I find it, somewhat difficult putting myself out there in front of people and telling them all about me. So I'm going to struggle through this for that reason. I'm just going to tell you that. But since I'm an introvert, one of the things that happens is that a lot of people will interpret my silence or the fact that I'm really laid back as being weakness. And I consider myself the quiet storm. I kind of sit back, I listen, and then when the time has come and when I've collected the information, I deliver, my opinion. So I think one of the things that a leader has to do is to have the ability to listen, to have the ability to compromise. In this position, particularly, I think that you have to be willing to devote your time, even though I know that council meetings are a couple of times a month. I know that there is also some involvement with other types of commissions. And I know that council's job is not done during the 1 hour or 3 to 4 hours a month that they're sitting in a council session. So I know that it takes a lot of devotion as far as time is concerned. One of the things that I think is really important is to have the ability to communicate intelligently and articulately with people from various walks of life. Everyone that you run into is not going to be college educated, which means that there may be a problem with expression. So it's just one, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just being well-rounded generally. And just to go back generally with the respect, having a good respectful relationship with the members of your neighborhood, with the members of city council, having the ability to compromise with other people. And that's essentially it. I'll do Aretha Franklin, R-E-S-P-E-C-T. That's the main word here.
Thank you. There are going to be those times when, as a member of council, you would disagree with other members or a member of council. So when you have those disagreements, how do you plan to work through those situations?
Well, I think it goes back to what I just said. The first thing is you have to be a good listener. You need to know why you have this difference of opinion. I have an opinion. It doesn't mean that my opinion is always the correct opinion. You need to take the time to listen, to hear where other people are coming from. How did they reach the opinion that they have? And you have to be willing to compromise and change your opinion when you're presented with some other facts that should be weighed. Most importantly, I think that you just communicate and you have thoughtful communication with the other members of council, which means you don't go into it by bullying or manipulating other people. Always respectful. Again, kind of like the quiet storm of an introvert. Say what you need to say it respectfully, and move on. One of the things, and I know that earlier, the first person who spoke, I think her name was Stephanie. One of the things that Stephanie talked about, or as she was talking, she told a story, and that's kind of how I am generally. I'm a little bit of a storyteller, and I'm an attorney. One thing that happened to me when I was in court a few years ago is I was having this oral argument against another attorney, and the attorney, took me out in the hallway afterward, and he was someone who had a lot more experience than I did. And he said, just because you talk to me in that quiet, soft voice, it doesn't mean you're going to get what you want. And that's something that I tend to run into a lot of times. The voice gives one impression, but it doesn't mean that I'm not strong in my beliefs. So I think you express it, you express yourself intelligently, politely, and then be willing to change.
So do you take those same ideals into times when residents would come to you upset and angry? How would you handle a situation like that and diffuse it?
Well, you absolutely have to take that same attitude into it. Two people who are upset and angry create a fight. You don't want to fight. You want to listen. You want to understand where they're coming from. You want to be thoughtful. One of my pet peeves, and I probably have a lot of them, is when people start talking before you stop talking. And what that shows me is that they're not listening to what you said. So when someone comes to me with a problem, generally, I listen to what they say. I listen without interruption. I let them get it all out. And sometimes I'll take a few minutes just to think about it, because I don't like making quick, rash decisions. I like making thoughtful decisions. So when someone comes to you, I think, you let them say what they need to say, express themselves, you think about it, and then you give the appropriate response without trying to ruffle their feathers. You don't want to add to the anger. You want to diffuse it.
Okay. I'm going to move away from that line of questions for a moment. Is there an Oak Park related issue that you would like to take on if you're selected?
Well, one of the things that I would really like to see is I'd like to see more of a downtown kind of development area. I envy the cities of Royal Oak and Ferndale, because they have that. And our city at this point, it's just not, I don't want to say designed in a way to do it, but I think the street design kind of prohibits it. And the way that one of the most busy areas in the city, from my perspective, is the 9 Mile Coolidge area. But because of the large parking lots and the businesses that are kind of set off the street, it takes away from the walkability in a sense. It's just not as friendly and cozy as what makes those other cities so wonderful to go to. Again, talking about Ferndale and Royal Oak. So that is such a huge project, though. It's a huge project, and I don't know that the city has the ability to get there, but I like the fact that we put the bike lanes down on 9 Mile between Coolidge and Scotia area. I think that area right there could probably be developed more into a downtown area, just based on how the buildings are situated. I like the fact that we've changed the parking there. So, that would be a great project for the city. I think it would bring a lot of business to the city. And I'd like to see that developed. I have a secondary one, however, as a business owner. my business is not in Oak Park. My business is in the city of Southfield. And the reason that it is that there is this huge lack of quality office space in Oak Park. We have Crown Point Plaza, which from when I've been in there, it appears to be a nice building, but that's it. And I've looked into a lot of office space in Oak Park. We have what would be classified as B-level or C-level buildings. And so I would really like to see a very nice office space in Oak Park to bring some more professional businesses into the area.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to move on to one more question. What do you perceive as the three most important concerns currently facing the city of Oak Park?
Well, again, I'm going to agree with Stephanie. I think the most important thing we're facing right now is something that we share with the entire country, and that's how we deal with the pandemic. I'm particularly concerned because early on in Michigan, those first few confirmed cases were circling Oak Park and even within Oak Park. And then we had this very high percentage of people who were infected with COVID-19 and who died from COVID-19. And I'm glad that that's, somewhat under control. So most importantly, protecting the safety and health of our citizens based on the pandemic. Secondly, this is a little petty thing, but I know that there is this perception that crime is on the rise in our city. So, and I don't believe that's the case. But I talk to enough people and I see enough people on Facebook who believe that's the case. So I think that, maybe we could do something more with transparency when we talk about what the crime rate actually is, what the arrest rate is, what type of crime is it, how quickly our public safety department is able to respond, how our city compares to other similarly sized cities. So I think that if we made that type of information more accessible to the citizens of the city, that perception that there is this increased rate of crime would kind of dissipate. Again, I don't believe that there is more crime in the city. I think that there is crime everywhere. As some of you may know, I recently ran for judge and was not successful in that. But one of the things that I ran across as I was running was there was an article related to the safest 8 areas in the city, and it kind of blocked off all of our the different areas. And I was surprised to learn that the area that I'm in is considered one of the safer areas in the city, because I would have thought it would have been to the north or to the east. And I'm right near Shepherd Park. So, and I say all of that to say that it goes along with that perception that there is more crime. So I think that we just need to give the citizenry more information to dissipate that. And a third one would be just the traffic violations. We have a lot of that. I've noticed lately that we've had, a lot of the monitors going up in different streets where people are speeding and running stop signs. We've had a couple of times when cars have flipped in neighborhoods, residential neighborhoods. So I would like to get a better handle on that. I have one more. and it's related to blight. One of the things that I think is really important, and it's not super important, but it's important that everybody be mindful of their responsibility as a property owner. And that's whether you are a property owner who lives in your residence or a property owner who's a landlord. There are rules, and I think everybody has an obligation to follow those rules so that we can eliminate blight. So that's my 4 cents on it.
Thank you very much. Council members, you know the drill. Follow-up questions, if you have any, please.
Wow.
I have a follow-up question. Carolyn, did you want to go first or?
No, I said, no, I didn't have one.
Oh, okay. So let's talk a little bit about blight. So how would you go about battling blight in the city of Oak Park? What would you do besides, I mean, we do have a good code enforcement department, but how do you think we could enforce our ordinances better?
Well, I don't, luckily, I've never gotten a ticket, so I don't know what the enforcement process is right now. But I know that the perception from people, based on people that I have spoken with, is that there is selective enforcement. And I don't know that to be true or not, but I do know that, again, I guess it boils down to just transparency. I think that most people are entitled to a warning. If your grass is too high, I think you're entitled to a warning that you need to cut your grass. But then you're not entitled to a second warning. You should cut your grass or you should be ticketed. Same thing with a car, an abandoned car parked in front of your house, or aluminum siding that's peeling off. All of those things happen in every single part of our city occasionally, but it happens more in other parts than others. So maybe the solution is to have a heavier presence in the areas that there tends to be greater violations. Just something I'm throwing out there.
Mm-hmm.
Other follow-up questions, council members? Okay. Brenda, any questions for us?
Well, no, I don't have any questions, but I do want to say thank you for inviting me to interview and to share this experience with a great group of people. The first 2 candidates I saw were just really dynamic, so I appreciate being put in that same group with them to have this opportunity. And I would just like to add that I've been in Oak Park for 9 years now. We love our home, we love our neighbors, and it's a great community to live in. So thank you all.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Brenda.
Thank you.
Okay.
You.
Council members, we are now at the halfway mark. Okay. Shall we keep going here? I'm going to ask Lisa if you want to bring up Gina Sawani, please.
Oh my gosh. Hi guys.
Hi.
My husband's looking for a snow shovel right now, and my cat's trying to get out of the house. So we're on another planet right now.
Well, good evening.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I actually wanted to just kind of start everything before the questions and let you know that firstly, I'm so grateful for this opportunity. This distinguished council. I mean, you guys do incredible things. I've, been an observer of the YouTube meetings, and I just feel like for me at this point in my life, it's not going to work, unfortunately. I have too many commitments. My work, I work for Michigan Medicine, and we've been very busy this entire year, as many of you know. And I am just so grateful for this opportunity. And each and every candidate that I've heard thus far, I know we probably weren't supposed to be able to hear, but they have just been phenomenal. But it's not surprising given that we live in a phenomenal community, right? So it's going to render these candidates that are just amazing. I mean, these answers that people have given, I've just been blown away by. So for those of you that don't know, I actually, I'm the president of the library board. So I am working on, improving those services. And I'm just so grateful, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Well,
It's a hard decision.
okay, well, this is news to us. So thank you for coming on and sharing that.
Yes.
Oh, Gina,
Thank you guys.
we wish you all the best. You have done
Yes.
remarkable things in the City of Oak Park, and working for anything medical, you must be up to your ears in alligators because of COVID and
Yes.
vaccine
Yep.
and all of the other things that are going on in the world. You
Yes.
have been a blessing to the city. We just so appreciate having you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your honesty, and we'll have to nab you another time.
Yes, and please consider me for other opportunities. I mean, obviously we have such amazing people. I mean, these answers, I've been listening in. I'm blown away, and you guys do such an incredible job. So, and our library board is awesome, and we're coming together, and, I appreciate it, guys.
Thank you, Gina.
I know it looks like we have a tough decision, but now Gina has to decide between rescuing her cat or her husband. So
They're both outside. They're both outside now. And he's actually an essential worker. So we have not had a fun year,
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't want to get emotional, but he's been supporting vendors that are essential to everybody's needs every day on the front line without a vaccine, staying safe. I mean, we've had a bad year, so, but we're so blessed to be in Oak Park. And I just wanted, we moved here in 2017. We bought a house, and we're just happy to be here. We love you guys. So
Thank you so much, Gina.
Yeah.
Thank
We
you,
are
Gina.
so glad you are in Oak Park, and
yes,
you've just proven yourself to be wonderful and committed to the community.
yes.
And we'll get you when things calm down.
Thank you. And I love you guys. And yeah, you have a hard decision ahead of you, but good luck.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening, Gina.
Thank you.
Okay, council members, a little bit of a curveball there. We're gonna just continue on with our next candidate, Avi Snyder.
Hey, everybody, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. It's good to see all of you guys.
Good to see you. Avi, I think you've probably been listening in, but if not, I'm gonna ask you a series of questions and end that with some follow-up questions from city council members, and then of course, allow you an opportunity to ask questions of us. Having said that, I'm gonna jump right in. So discuss your interest in serving on the city council and how your prior experience will help you be successful serving the city.
Well, I think my interest and my prior experience really have to start with that I'm an Oak Park lifer. My family moved here when I was 1, and I won't tell you how many years ago that was, but it was a number of years ago. And with the exception of being away during college during the semester, I've lived here my whole life. I came back here after college. I own a house here now, between Lincoln and 11 Mile. So I wrote this in my application, but I'm I'm a true believer in Oak Park. I'm very passionate about the city. You know, I I try to recruit people to live here just on a personal level. I think it's an incredible place. You know, I'm also a very firm believer in the ability of municipal government to really make a big difference in people's lives. I mean, you know, we spend a lot of time, especially over the past year, thinking about you know, the federal government, the state government, and having lots of fights with lots of people all over the country. But, you know, truly it's the municipal government that I think makes the most difference in people's day-to-day lives and really has the biggest power to sort of, you know, customize policy in a way to fit the area, you know, in which people live. And, you know, I've been serving in a volunteer capacity in Oak Park for a number of years now. I chair the Arts and Cultural Diversity Commission. I serve with Stephanie, who I should mention, by the way, is incredible. And I've also served for a number of years on the Zoning Board of Appeals. So I feel like I've been able to do my small part to help make, you know, the government experience that people have with Oak Park, you know, as excellent as possible. And I'd like to continue to do so as a member of council if you all have me.
Okay, thank you. So how would you define being a great elected official?
Well, the first thing, you know, the most important thing is to make sure that you're engaging with not only your constituents, but also your non-constituent stakeholders. And I know you've heard this from a number of applicants, but I think in my experience, the most important thing is making sure that people feel heard. You know, when people encounter, you know, the government, whether it be the council or our staff, who is excellent, you know, make sure that they feel like whatever issue they've had has gotten a fair hearing, and that people are in their corner trying to help them, even if they can't get their way, you know, in part or in whole, because of course, you know, not everybody can have what they want all of the time, unfortunately, you know, especially in a city where people, you know, a municipality, people will have conflicting interests. But it's important that you know, a good official will make sure that people understand that they're there working to make their lives better, and just to act, you know, thoughtfully and respectfully towards not just the constituents and stakeholders, but also other members of the council and the city staff, and just to make sure that different interests are balanced appropriately.
So what would you say are the three most important concerns currently facing the city of Oak Park?
So for me, one of the things I'm very passionate about, and I think is an important concern that's facing Oak Park, but also one that the city has been doing a very good job of addressing over the last, you know, number of years, is economic development. I live a couple of blocks away from 11 Mile. I can see firsthand the positive impact that the 11 Mile redevelopment project is happening. And though I don't see it as much every day, I know that similar progress is being done on the 9 Mile corridor. And I think that those have been really, really great. And it's important that we, you know, work with Eric, you and the rest of the staff to make sure that it continues to move in a positive direction, because, you know, that's going to bear incredible fruit for the city over the next half a decade to a decade. The second issue is the long-term financial and budget health of the city. You know, I'm sure many of you remember far better than I do the turmoil that came out of 2008. And I know that it's looking more and more that the federal government is not going to be throwing a lifeline to state and local governments unless, you know, something changes for the better in that regard. And I know that members of the council and Eric, you and your staff have done an excellent job of righting the ship following the Great Recession, and just to continue not progress, but continue that responsible management, making sure that our city is set up in a way that we don't end up like other municipalities and perhaps counties also across the state did over the past decade, with emergency managers and having the state having to come in and rearrange their finances to the detriment of city services. And the third issue is, and this kind of ties into economic development, but just making sure that the public is taken care of and has resources to help with jobs coming out of the COVID crisis. It's an unprecedented amount of unemployment, and these things can have a long-term ripple effect throughout a community. Thankfully, with the economic development work the city has been doing, we'll hopefully be in a good position to have more local employment to give people. I know that a phenomenal amount of jobs were just opened up around the corner from me with the new Kroger, and that will hopefully bring in some more businesses to that shopping center, although I think that the majority of those have tenants already. But there's the McDonald's opened up in the parking lot a few years back, and there's a new gas station, and some stuff like that it couldn't come at a better time. And with the new, God willing, with the restrictions on being in public spaces pass over the next year, with the vaccine, and these new restaurants are able to open up, those will bring retail spaces along with it, and potentially some commercial space as well. And that those will be jobs that will be within walking distance of people in my neighborhood, which I frankly speaking, I love Oak Park, but that's one thing that we've never had, and that'll be huge. And then I know that's 3. I'm going to give it also an honorable mention. This is just something that will be, hopefully over the next 6 to 8 months, but sort of to help get people in the city ready to take the steps that we're going to need to take to emerge from the pandemic, whether it be vaccination or, just helping people remember that we need to behave and act responsibly while people are getting vaccinated, because it's not going to go away overnight.
So is there an Oak Park issue that, if selected, you would want to take on?
So I know I've spoken a lot about the redevelopment issues already. But I mean, that's something that I'm really passionate about. And it's something that I feel that council has done a great job on, and I would like to continue to carry the ball on, particularly when it comes to not just the work that the council and the government or the administration has done regarding the business aspect of it, but just to make sure that the physical space around it is also welcoming and inviting to people. I kind of think of it as, the graphic design to the content that is the businesses. If it's inviting, it'll just make people want to come and use the businesses more.
Okay. Council members, he has addressed the questions that I've had. So do you have follow-up questions?
I do. Hi, Avi. Thank you so much for coming in.
Oh, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to apply for this.
So you talked about making the physical environment more inviting to businesses, to potential businesses. How do we do that?
Well, we don't have to really reinvent the wheel so much with this. We have different models that we can emulate. There's cities that mentioned Ferndale and Royal Oak have their way of doing it. I think a lot about Berkeley. That's just a mile down the road from me, and really 11 Mile where I live is not, doesn't necessarily have to be that dissimilar from 12 Mile in terms of, how it looks and how it is to be there. One of the things that the city, I know, looked at a few years ago and had a consultant do some work with was the road diet. My understanding was that was shelved in terms of at least 11 Mile for the near future. But, just having a situation where people aren't walking up and, if there's restaurants and retail spaces, and people aren't just walking up and down the road next to the, a foot away from traffic moving 40 miles an hour. That can be a big deal. We've already seen a little bit from one of the restaurants I guess it's a gastropub, somewhere between a restaurant and a bar, that is popping up on 11 Mile, where they have sort of cordoned off a little space for themselves with some ropes and barrels to, attractive looking barrels, not, traffic barrels, that, have made themselves a little space for people to sit away from the road, and also, green space is important as well. There's not a lot of trees and landscaping around the corridor, at least the 11 Mile corridor. And I know that you guys redid the parking on the 9 Mile corridor, and that kind of thing can go a long way as well, although in 11 Mile, just to separate the street from the road, although perhaps not as appropriate for 11 Mile because you have all that parking behind the new mixed use properties.
So is there something that, is there a vote that you disagreed with, an issue that came before council in recent years, a vote that you disagreed with, you would have done it a certain way, a different way?
I kind of want to answer out of both sides of my mouth here, because one thing that I was very kind of taken aback with personally was the issue of poultry in people's backyards. I'm not personally a big fan of that. It concerns me.
Chickens, not poultry.
Chickens? Is there a legal difference, Councilman Radner, that I'm unfamiliar with?
As far as I know, poultry is dead chicken. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, then I'm a big fan of poultry. But
of course, now I'm going to have to dictionary look the word up because I don't know. Maybe poultry can be alive. I don't know.
But in any case, that my thought had immediately gone to, what if I wanted to move to a different house and I had, prospective buyers coming in and you have a big coop next door. And so that was something that I was very apprehensive about. And I was kind of taken aback at the city was kind of going in sort of full steam in it. But then, at the end, I took a look at the ordinance that you guys passed in the trial program. And I did see that, there was opportunity for neighboring homeowners to have input on that. And I thought that was a very good compromise.
Okay.
And in general, I'm not, I don't look at the action that the council has taken over the past 10 years and think, man, you guys, have it all backwards. I think the council and the administration have done a really excellent job over the course really of the past decade.
Poultry, one of my favorite subjects.
Who can say no to some chicken? Not
Okay,
me.
any additional follow-up questions, council members? Okay, Avi, any questions for us?
I don't really have any questions. I just wanted to thank you guys for hearing me on. Particularly thank you, Council Member Edgar, for your questions. It's one of the things that I always try. I appreciate that when I'm sitting in on the Board of Appeals at our meetings. I always try to ask questions of the people who are coming and making requests, just to make sure that they feel like they're being engaged with. And so I sitting on the other end of that now, I appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you hearing me out and entertaining my candidacy.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Council Member Edgar is a former Free Press writer, which makes her the best interviewer on council.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Avi.
much. Okay, council members, we have one candidate left, and that candidate is Sean Whitehead. Lisa, if you could bring him forward, please.
Last but not least.
Good evening, Sean.
Greetings, city manager. How are you?
Good. Thank you for your time this evening. I am going to go right ahead and just jump right into it. You've probably heard a little bit about the format, so I'm assuming you're aware of it. So I'm going to start with, if you could help me define, in your opinion, what it means to be a great elected official.
So one thing that I would say, and that's a great question, City Manager Tungate, and I just do want to thank, before I get started with my answer, everyone on council and the mayor for their time, and the city administration, and also wish everyone a happy holidays who celebrates. Great question. So one thing I think is important to know as far as a leader is knowing the duties and the issues that might be in front of you. And so knowing that and being a council member for this, for example, knowing that strategic planning and knowing that short-term and long-term goals is something that's important. I think also what's also important would be being accessible. There's one thing that I really do love about the mayor is that she gives everybody in the city of Oak Park her contact information. And I do want to throw out a quick disclaimer here. I'm going to speak from the heart. I do have 1,000 pages of notes because I'm a lawyer and I'm very trained and prepared. However, I love Oak Park, and Oak Park is in my spirit and my soul. And if I'm ready to win or lose with giving you my heart. So I'm going to speak from the heart today. And one thing I know about somebody who was a great elected official and will continue to be in Lansing is Regina Weiss, who was who I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that these are big shoes to fill, as she's going on to be a state rep and an elected official there in Lansing. And one thing that I loved about Regina is that she had the city and the council's heart. And so I think when you relate to people and you can, I think that's something that's important. I think being personable is something that's important.
Absolutely. So how would you work through situations as a member of council where you might disagree with your fellow council members?
So I did notice at one of the city council meetings recently, there was a 3-2 split. So in my profession of being a lawyer, splits like that are pretty close. So there was a 3-2 split on, I think, bringing in a senior living facility into our city. And Councilwoman Edgar and Councilwoman Regina, they both went 2 different ways. And then the other 3 members voted for yay. And I think that they all made great points. And so one thing that I really do love is how you're able, in great leadership, if you're able to disagree with somebody, but still respect them to the point that the relationship is not tarnished at all. And that's one thing that Councilwoman Regina was great at. And it's also one thing that I've noticed Councilman Solomon is great at. At the end of the last meeting, I really took notice to how there was a city resident who wanted to voice some concerns about the city. And Councilman Solomon said, I appreciate your criticism. It's sometimes hard to intake that, but it's necessary. And so and having an open ear is very necessary to other people's opinions, that you can poll 100 people and they may all have a different answer. So one thing I was trained in at Case Western Reserve University was mediation. So I'm always trying to find a middle ground between people. Believe it or not, I deal with divorce cases. So it's those are a lot of things but what's important is to focus on the goal. So if the people have children, then I try to bring them back to the goal is we want you to be able to co-parent and raise your children together for the next 18 years or however long it needs to be. So for example, something like that happened at another meeting that I was in where we were discussing a potential really big idea to try to get Dolly Parton books for Oak Park, 5 to 5-year-olds and under. So we got a little bit distracted too. People had different opinions on something, but what I brought it back to was the goal. So this may be an expensive thing, but if we're looking at it as a 5 or 6 year program, we could break it down, make it smaller, and really maybe be able to do this with the right sponsor. Hopefully that answers your question.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so in a situation where there are upset or angry residents, how would you handle and diffuse a situation like that?
So one thing I would do is I would listen, and that's a great question. There's a lot of people that come up to me and they just vent their issues to me. Being a lawyer, I'm somebody they feel comfortable with, that they're confident in. I live in Lincoln Towers, where there's a pretty much really tight community, but there's a diverse amount of people. My neighbor who owns the store downstairs, just last week, I listened to him vent to me for about 45 minutes, and I appreciated every second of it because I knew I was helping him. Someone came in, obviously we're all stressed out with these 10 months of dealing with this pandemic. And someone who didn't live in our apartment came into the facility, his store that services a lot of seniors and elders. And he asked them to put their mask up, and they knocked over everything in his store. So yeah, luckily they did not live here. So one thing I did was I just listened to him, and by just listening to him and telling him, hey, I got your back, we're in this all together. I texted him, I said, hey, if you ever need anything, we have great public safety. Director Cooper's an awesome leader of our public safety department. So if you ever need anything, just let me know. And his wife texted me back. She said, it just means so much that you messages that out of your busy day. So I just think listening to people, giving them time to calm down, realizing that we all get frustrated, but keeping your temperament, especially in a leadership position, is something that's important.
Thank you. So what do you perceive as the most important concerns currently facing the city?
Awesome. So there's three things that I would want to highlight. So the first thing is, I would be remiss if I did not touch on the pandemic. And so it really has us all in a holding pattern, and the city has done a great job. And I've seen the council, just from watching the meetings, make tough decisions as to semi-close until January 4th of this year. And I believe that was a great decision. It was right on time. So with the pandemic, if I am fortunate enough to receive the appointment to earn it, then one thing that I would want to do in the first 100 days is I would want to work with the city manager, yourself, city manager, assistant city manager Yee as well as the administration and the council, to speak with Walgreens and all the other healthcare facilities and providers in Oak Park. We do have a senior elderly community here. Councilwoman Julie, I know that's one of her interests, and she does a great job with our seniors and assisting them. So from what I've understand is that the main vaccine is going to come to Walgreens. We do have a Walgreens right there on 9 Mile and Coolidge. So that would be one of the first businesses I would want to contact with the city administration to make sure they have everything that they need, from the federal level all the way down to the state level, to the Oakland County level, to the city level from us. And then would go all the way down the chain to every smaller healthcare facility. As far as number two, it would be similar to the pandemic. However, our small businesses have been hit as well. So what I would want to do is to help them. One of the things I loved from the last city council meeting that we did was Ernie's Markets, which is a staple in our community. We got him a social distance tent with heaters in it. And so I would want to work with all of the other small businesses like Ernie's Market to make sure that they have everything they need. So these next 3 months are going to be tough as we round the corner. So I would want all of our businesses to be able to have everything they need, so that way they could still keep their doors open, still be able to prosper, and we can all make it through this. The third thing that I would want to do is I would like to attract young professionals. I'm a young professional myself. It's one of the reasons why I've become invested into the heartbeat of the city. And I think that I know that our motto right now is community, culture, and commerce. It was changed in 2013, and I agree with that. But there's two things my grandparents always taught me, and that's to remember your history. And so we came from actually the city of the future. And I think we still are the city of the future. And then the second, when we changed our motto again, we were the family city. And so I think that without young adults, without attracting young professionals, we need that for community, commerce, and culture, but we also need that to keep our family spirit here in the city of Oak Park.
Thank you. Okay, so you talked a little bit about small businesses, and I want you to expand a little bit in terms of what you think would be an opportunity for redevelopment and revitalization.
That's a great question. So I've read the master plan, and one thing that I really like in the master plan is the Facade grant program. And so with the Facade grant program, what that does is it redevelops and resurfaces storefronts. And it's also in conjunction with our 9 Mile, redesign 9 Mile. And I love that plan. I love the sidewalks that we're building, the new bike roads. So I would want to help continue carry out that plan. And one of the ways that we can redo our plazas, so that way Oak Park continues to be a city of destination, and the inflow and outflow, people come and stop, is to update all of our storefronts. And I believe that that's possible through the Facade grant program.
Okay, thank you. So, and just lastly, is there a specific Oak Park related issue that you would take on?
Well, being if I was appointed, I would be the junior council member. So one thing I would want to do is collaborate with all of the council members and the mayor on the issues that they currently are doing. And so I know that there's a lot of different things going on in the city. However, if I had to pick one thing in particular, it would be right from our name, Oak Park. I want to make sure that everyone knows that Oak Park has the best parks possible. I want us to be known for our parks because we have 13 different parks. One of them is actually named Best Park. So I feel like it'd be pretty easy to tell people, hey, won't you come to Oak Park? We have Best Park. No, that's actually the name of it. And so I think that would be great. I love how recently we just in Seneca Park, we just put up the DNA tower. I think we just should continue that with the pocket parks. Parks bring so much joy. And it's one thing that we've noticed that being outdoors is better with this pandemic. And so exercise, I think that attracts younger people as well as our youth to be able to be productive. There's something about going around our park, when I was going around this summer registering voters, about seeing a dad playing with his son on a Sunday afternoon. So it's just something about that's a connection. So I want them to be able to have the best facilities possible.
Thank you. Council members, do you have follow-up questions?
I have one. Oh, okay. Sean, how do you feel about, or are you involved in any community activities in Oak Park?
Yes, great question. So one thing that I am involved in is the Friends of the Oak Park Library. And through them, I helped this summer with the summer book sale. We also, I was able to pass out 200 backpacks for Oak Park students, and we gave out coupons to circle them around to the Oak Park Friends of the Library book sale. That was very beneficial being a part of it. And I think Leslie was on the call here, as well as Zakia. So there's a lot of great things going on with our library. That's one of the things that I do want to be firmly invested in. Another thing that I'm a part of is the Oak Park Huntington Woods Club, and I'm slated hopefully for January to be the communications, the new member for the communications.
I think they were referring to you. Did you also, you were able to procure some laptops or notebooks to donate to the city?
Yes, so I try not to boast about the things that I do community service-wise, but yes, we did donate some computers, some laptops to the Oak Park Library, as well as other things from folders, stickers, things like that to students over the summer. Also helped with the Oak Park Boo Bash. So that was a great event. It was a little scary with the pandemic, no pun intended. But so with that, what we did was we had 1,500 pieces of candy, and the mayor was so gracious to have her time and to come out and help us actually pack the candy, which is one of the reasons why I really love Oak Park. And so we were able to pass out the candy to the students at the Boo Bash, and I think we had enough candy left over for a second one. So that was really good. And I just yeah. So I do my share of community service. I also do Meals on Wheels, which is one of the reasons why I really like. I believe Council member Julie had mentioned earlier back in October or November meeting, I believe it was, that she does the Meals on Wheels here in Oakland County, or she helps with the Meals on Wheels in Troy. And so that would be one thing that I'm also interested in continue to do, as I've done it for the past 10 years at my Detroit church.
Mr. White, aren't you also running some kind of intern training program?
I am. I'm running the legislative boot camps, and actually our final is going to be on the Oak Park Huntington Woods Club meeting tomorrow. Basically what we've done is, and I see some of the officials that we've had on our calls, we're trying to train students to be able to be interns for different elected officials. So we've had Judge-elect Jamie on the call with the students, and she's connected with one of our students who wants to be an FBI agent. We've also, last week, we had a really great school board elect, Al Albin was on the call. So the legislative boot camps, this is our 10th week, but it all spun from us seeing a need to help students. I'm reading the Obama book right now, and one thing he says is put faith in the next generation. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm here before you today, and also one of the reasons why I try to give back to students younger than me.
Okay.
Thank you.
As council members, any additional follow-up?
I have a follow-up. Sean, thank you so much for coming in. Really appreciate it. It's good to meet you face to face. So you talk about attracting young professionals to Oak Park, which of course is important for a lot of reasons, but how do we do that?
Great question. So one of the ways that I think that we can do that is if we invite, if the mayor, as well as city council and city administration, if we invite out every different realtor or real estate agent that we can pull to the city to have an open house. And from there, we can kind of pitch to them the amenities of Oak Park, about how we have great parks, how we have a fitness facility here, how there's a new Kroger's that just came to the city that's right down the street from me. I think that would be one way. And then also seeing that even on their council, they reflect that they accept and are willing to have young minds pitch their ideas. So I think that's one thing that would help as well. But if we can get all of the real estate agents to come and learn more about Oak Park and kind of just put that at the forefront of their mind, hey, don't pitch Berkeley, don't pitch Rollo, come and pitch Oak Park, because we've got good things going here.
That's brilliant. I never would have thought of that. That's really brilliant.
Thank you.
And I'll ask you the same question that I asked Avi Snyder, which is there an issue that has come before council recently that you would have voted differently on? For example, Avi mentioned that we now allow people to raise chickens. So what have we taken up that you have feelings about?
The one thing that's very important to me is also the youth, but also seniors. I know it was a 3-2 vote on the nursing home that I think is coming here. And I think if serves me correct, it's a $10 million facility. So the business mind of me can see why the business aspects of having a company enterprise, because one of our motives as the council is to attract new businesses and enterprises. But also I could see how you mentioned the ratings and how there were some concerns with that, Councilwoman Edgar, that you mentioned. And I think that we did have different members of their organization come and discuss it, but that would be one that was a toss up for me. I can't tell you if I was in your shoes, how I would have went on that one.
And just one more question. We're likely going to take up a marijuana ordinance. We're sort of thinking about this now because we don't want to be taken by surprise by pro-marijuana groups that would like us to, would like businesses to be able to locate in Oak Park. What is your feeling about it? How do we proceed with that? You're an attorney, so you know how to write these ordinances, or you have a feel for this?
Yes, great question. So, and being at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I did look at different licenses and renewals and things of that nature. I know that I believe there's rumblings that the federal government has made it legal at this time. I believe, I don't want to speak wrong. I so much news going on lately, but I'm not sure if that was misinformation or not. So I will want to research that more. But in regards to that's something that would be something I would want to do some research. I would want to bring in experts to see what does that do for the actual property value of our city, because one thing that's very important to me is the mission that City Manager Tunga has taken on once he came after the housing bubble crash, and that's to make sure that our property values get back up to around 200,000, if not over. So I'm not sure how that would play in regards to that, because if you look at our bordering cities, I think the only one that does that is Ferndale, and they already have their property values over 200,000. And I don't believe Royal Oak has done that either. So.
Okay, thank you, council member. Sean, do you have questions for us?
No, I just want to say I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. My mom appreciates you as well for all of your service. She's been a resident for 40 years. And thank you for the trash cans. That made my job a lot easier than taking up her trash. So.
Thank you so much, Sean. And have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
So we need to change the Oak Park rules so that we can hire 5 additional councilors. Doggone some impressive people.
Madam Mayor, I know Jocelyn would like to have the candidates come back onto camera at the same time so she can get a screenshot of this.
Okay.
If that's okay, Lisa, can we allow the candidates who are still on to come back momentarily?
Yeah, so get them on here right now.
Jocelyn, if you're,
Thank you, City Manager Tungate. Give me one moment and I'll take the shot.
okay.
I have it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Madam Mayor,
you.
members of council, that completes the interview portion of our agenda.
City Manager Tungate, you did a remarkably beautiful job of interviewing actually 6 wonderful candidates. I thank you for that.
Please forgive me, but Mr. Whitehead was not in that picture.
Oh, okay. Can we?
There he is.
Thank you.
Is everybody back?
I'm gonna give everybody.
Let's see.
I don't see Christy.
Stephanie? No.
Stephanie?
She's going back to her spot.
Yep, there's Stephanie.
There she is.
We are missing Christina Price.
I think she
Christina.
may have left.
I don't see
Yeah.
her on the participant list any longer, unfortunately.
Okay, I'm going to take the picture now. Please hold and smile, everyone. I have it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow.
Madam Mayor, may I share a thought, please?
Please, now is the time for a little discussion.
Yeah, I know we have deliberation
Blown
now.
away. Sorry?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
I was
trying
just
to interrupt
blown away by the quality of the interviews.
Are we still doing live? Are we supposed to be discussing this during live?
Yeah,
Just-
yeah.
Okay.
But we can take time and make a decision, look at the videos again and decide and come to a vote at the next council meeting on Monday. So we don't have to vote tonight.
Well, can we go through and ask if anyone
Before
is
we
ready
do
to vote?
that, I wonder if Solomon Radner had something that he wanted to say first, and I interrupted him.
Well, the thing that I was going to say was, after the interviews, I kind of feel like I'm ready to vote right now, but I also kind of feel that would probably be a bit premature. And I at least would want to sleep on the decision, at least for one day. So, whereas originally I was thinking maybe we'd be ready to vote by the end of this meeting. At least from my perspective, I think we should probably take a day just to digest it all, think about it, and make sure that whoever it is we want to vote for today, we still want to vote for them tomorrow.
Right. Well, we have voluminous notes that we can look at, and we can review the interviews and take a moment. I'm amazed by the quality of the people that we interviewed.
Yeah.
One thing that really surprised me, not one of these candidates mentioned water rates
Oh,
as a
yeah.
pressing issue. Since it comes up all the time. And, it does surprise me that nobody mentioned it. I'm pleasantly surprised, but given the fact that, that's the number one complaint I hear from residents. Surprises me. So we need to do, all these deliberations then must be public. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. And we can have a discussion on Monday before voting, which would be fine. I know that I would love to go through and look at my notes again.
I'm in agreement with Councilmember Ratner. I could provide my decision today, but there is not an issue with me sleeping on it and making sure it's confirmed tomorrow.
Okay.
Or by the next council meeting on Monday.
Right.
Yeah, I'm in agreement as well. I think we can sleep on it, and because we heard a lot tonight.
Yes, we did. A lot of wonderful ideas and suggestions. Amazing. If there's no further discussion, we're going to discuss it later. I wonder if we can have audience comments. If Lisa Vecchio would see if any of the audience members would like to say something.
Yes, if anyone would like to speak during the public comment of this meeting, please raise your hand through going through the participant list, or leave a message in the chat and we will call on you through there.
We have 25 people on the call.
Oh, I see a hand up from Al Alvin. You can go ahead and speak.
He's on mute.
Unmute yourself, Mr. Alvin.
I think I unmuted. Can you all hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
now we can hear.
Okay, good evening. Do I need to give an address or?
No.
Okay, good. My name is Al Elvin. I didn't plan to speak today. I'm actually on like 2 Zoom calls at the same time. But I would like to, and I don't know if it's in order, so if it's not, someone can stop me. But I am speaking on behalf of Sean Whitehead. So I just feel like I watched the interviews. I thought all of them did a tremendous job, just like everyone here has noted. But I have watched Sean in the time that I've been around, serving our community already, doing things not for personal gain, but because it's in his heart. And I think he talked about speaking from the heart today. His experience, his leadership, and the tremendous amount of passion he has for this city certainly would serve this body well. And I would like you all to strongly consider him as you sleep tonight, and as you prepare for deliberation when it's time and when it's time to make a vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you.
providing. And thank you.
Brenda Richard would like to make a comment. Go ahead, Brenda.
Okay, I was trying to start my video and I can't, but I did not see all of the videos, so I can't talk about that, about how the other candidates did. But I would just like to say, and I am all about unbiased and being transparent in everything that I do. I did notice Mr. Whitehead, and it's the first time I have ever seen him. I've had no contact with him at all. I think that he would make a wonderful candidate. And I would, even though I'm a candidate, I would throw my support behind him. I love his ideas. I love his enthusiasm. I love the fact that he has been very involved in various activities throughout the city of Oak Park. And I think that he would make a wonderful addition to the council.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment. That's
Okay.
very generous.
Yeah, everyone have a great night.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Oh, Gina Sawani, I'm on a call for work and on another Zoom, but I would also love to throw my support behind Mr. Whitehead. Wow. Wow. Is there any other comment? Anyone else wanting to make a comment? Chat from Kenneth Sherman, ditto marks to that. Wow.
Mayor, I don't see anyone else with a raised hand.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Director Vecchio, for running this, and City Manager Tungate for a wonderful job, and council members for your deliberation, and the amazing residents of Oak Park who astound me all the time. Thank you all for choosing to live in our city, and please, everyone, stay involved. We want you. We want all of you involved. We can only pick one, but gee, we want you all. And thank you. There being no further business, I think we can adjourn this meeting.
Thank you. Good night,
Good
everyone.
night.
Good night.
Wow. Wow.